Hello viewers, of course you know what time it is Curveball time, and you are welcome to the show where we celebrate and embrace the little and huge shockers in opinions that make life and people interesting. It's the Curveball podcast. We advise that you keep your protective gear on at all times because a curveball may hit you at any time. And I'm joined by a cast that is always down for all sorts of shenanigans. It's a full house, and the rascals and the lovely professional is here once again. And, my name is the Big Daddy Mike Abdulsalam, and I'm joined by none other, starting from my right, the lovely, joining us once again here on the Curveball podcast, Fumto Ogunbanwo.
Hi.
A resident professional, join us always.
Oh, thanks.
I hope I'm not in line for an intervention this time around.
We'll see how it goes.
Oh my God, that's scary. And of course, to her right is...
Are we the rascals?
You just go along with it. You know what I mean?
Richie, are we the rascals?
Cannot be talking to me.
I thought it was even you that he was paralyzing because it wasn't me.
It's exactly a statement the rascal would make.
Okay. But I believe you cannot be talking to me.
Oh, you won't fight me if now you go.
Because you can do American accents, now you want to be doing...
Wait, can I hear the American accent?
That was what he was doing now for the intro. I was like,
that was not it.
I was like, what is going on?
Like,
you don't sound like this
What's
on
the
normal
American
deal.
accent?
I like Bado Man.
You want me to do here?
Yeah.
Oh God, no.
Okay.
Okay, so on the show today we're talking about, so feel free to join the conversation, and of course it's the Curveball podcast, and I can sound American.
Okay.
I mean, I don't
Debatable, but okay.
Debatable.
It's okay. Good job.
Certification is actually scared. All right, so today we are talking about a second part of, a very, very hot episode we had last time. It's still to talk about mental health and the impact that it has on the Nigerian society. And last time I was made as a case study against my will. Why are you laughing? You loved it. I know you all did. Yeah. But this time around, we're going to be exploring the tangible steps we can take to address mental health challenges and bridge the gap between awareness and actionable support. Okay, so let's start off real quick here. Last time we defined mental health. We talked about the possible impact it could have on Nigerian society, whether or not it's something that, we should have accepted or we should accept. And you, told us that it's subjective to the cultural style, or how did you even put it again?
Culturally sensitive.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Or cultural sensitivity.
Exactly. So, what we're going to be talking about today, or the first thing I want to really ask, is stigma concerning mental health and the focus on it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we're in a country, or in an area rather, where when you talk about mental health, people go around looking at you like you are just being weak or soft.
Sensitive.
Yeah, just unnecessarily overly sensitive. Now, I want to ask you first of all, before the other people who don't need to be here take the... What happened? Am I lying? I mean, it's meant to be a professional. I'm going to handle this. It's not new.
Cannot be talking to me.
I want to ask, how is it that, this stigma can be lessened, reduced, quelled down in order for us to, move forward with the also debatable importance that mental health stands for?
Well, I mean, your last statement kind of explains why the stigma still exists. Like, if we're saying debatable, then it's kind of counterintuitive for the stigma to be released. But in general, how can stigma be released? It's just by talking more and understanding the importance, right? Because, I mean, truth is that we're an adaptable society, right? So I'm sure once upon a time, using medication when you were feeling down was a taboo or, looked down on, right? But now, I mean, you had malaria last week. I'm sure you're fine now. But now,
I'm good.
Nobody thinks about it. Like, if you need to take medication, you need to take medication, right? So, and that I'm sure that took time. It took people... it took education. So we need to get more educated about the importance of mental health and move past the notions that we have about mental health, because those notions are not necessarily founded in truth. And I mean, a lot of those notions is just because of lack of information, right? So moving past the stigma would be more information, listening to or even just getting the insight from like professionals such as myself, and people just talking more about it, right? Having conversations within like your own circle of influence, because everybody has a circle of influence. So having more conversations about that. So, yeah.
So, talking more.
Yeah, you seem to have a problem with that.
I don't know, man. I seem to have a problem with going around talking about my problems, but
No, so I didn't say talk about your problems, though.
okay.
I'm saying talk about, first of all, to reduce the stigma, you have to acknowledge something as important, right? So we need to acknowledge that mental health is important. And from that acknowledgement, we can talk more within our circles of influence. So talk more doesn't mean sharing your problems. It can mean, if somebody feels like sharing that they've gone through therapy, they can share that. If someone wants to like share resources, like, okay, these are like resources that you can reach out to when you're having a difficult time and things like that. That's what I mean by like talking more, not just sharing your problems.
Just sharing your problems.
Sharing your problems is included, but like it's not just that.
Just that. Okay.
Okay, but in recent times, we've noticed that a lot of people make excuses using how do they call it? Mental health. Oh,
My
I
mental
have
health.
so and so
Yeah,
issue.
yeah,
That's why
yeah.
I reacted like this.
Yeah.
Like, what impact? I think that has a negative impact
Absolutely.
on the stigmatization issue and all of that. So how do you think that can be quelled?
So how can we call like people using mental health
As excuse to
Yeah. I think again it goes back to information, right? Because oftentimes just something as simple as like somebody, if we find someone that's like finicky and likes things arranged in a certain way, we would typically say that, oh, you have OCD or that person is OCD. And that's wrong, right? Because mental health diagnoses are not adjectives, right? So it's being able to correct things like that, right? Like, okay, this person doesn't have OCD. Because OCD is a serious mental health condition and you don't want to have it, right? So I think it goes back to just, again, working within that circle of influence, right? So if you have a friend that is saying, like, oh, I'm so OCD, or like, my mental health, it's holding that person accountable. Hopefully, you have a close enough relationship with them that you can do that. Because, like you said, it does have a negative impact because now it becomes a running joke, right? It's like, oh, especially, like people always say like, oh, Gen Z, they are so quick to say my mental health, right? And so I guess this is also where professionals like myself have to do work, like educating people that like, you can have a stressful day or be faced with a difficulty and it doesn't mean that like you have mental health issues. Yeah.
I was going to ask about what you felt the relationship between resilience and the place of resilience in sort of the mental health space. I think on one side, resilience had too much emphasis on resilience and the fact that life is just hard, like you have to just get on with it. But then on the other side, I think arguably people cave with things that maybe if they had a bit more resilience, they would be able to push through. So I'm wondering, effectively, just generally speaking, where does resilience come in on the sort of spectrum or in the space of mental health?
Okay. Help me understand your question better. So how does resilience play into like just mental health difficulties?
Yes, not even necessarily difficulties. Mental health is, you can have good mental health and you can have bad mental health, right?
Yeah.
So just generally in the mental health space, how much maybe emphasis should we put on resilience? Is it still as important as maybe it once was? How do you think resilience currently operates in the mental health space?
Gotcha. So resilience is very personalized, right? So what resilience looks like for you may not look like that for me. So this is where we have to be careful with not setting like a general factor or like metric on what resilience should look like. It's the same way how like, sorry, I have to use malaria again.
Right.
If somebody has, someone's response to malaria is going to be different from another person's response. And that doesn't mean like person A is less resilient than person B when it comes to fighting, the malaria. There are different things that are at work. We don't know what their genetic makeup is, things like that, right? So when someone, for example, has been faced with a lot of stress, and even by stress, I mean like emotional distress. So let's even say like trauma, for example, right? It's going to be more difficult for that person to exhibit like resilience versus like if someone that hasn't like had a traumatic life experience, right?
Okay, so sorry to cut you short. You are gonna pick off from where I just interrupted.
That's fine.
Yeah, so I'm really just looking at everybody go on and on about the whole resilience and talk and... Okay, so the lovely Fumto is going to pick up from where she left off, answering Mo's snooze first of a question, but
This bat, eh?
What?
Don't worry.
So is it bad?
Go properly.
But I've just been hearing so much resilience and talk and well, we're gonna come back. We're gonna come back. The gang is still here. We're gonna go on a short break. Do not go anywhere. It's still the Curveball podcast. Okay, it's still the Curveball podcast, and welcome back. The gang is still here. I've got Mo, I've got Richie, and I've got the lovely Fumto. And we're still talking mental health and its inclinations and impact on the Nigerian society. We opened the show with how we could, quell stigma in the Nigerian society concerning mental health. And of course, pardon me, my head is full. You know how I am now. We forgot to give you the lowdown on our tools as usual. The ball goes to whoever has the most agreeable takes among us here. I certainly know I'm not getting that one. The bat goes to whoever drops the most controversial takes. I might get that one. I'm not sure.
Because
Seriously.
Because you are.
I'm him. I'm literally him.
Watch what will happen at the end of this podcast. You will melt.
Oh, yeah. Prates on air. And of course, the bell is for anyone whoever has any reaction to any controversial thing that has been said that resonates with what they feel. They press the bell. So let's go quickly into it. I want to just take a pointer from all the things that were said in the first segment concerning the whole talk about it. That's really my problem. Really, why are we talking, even if it's about to quell the stigma? In fact, this whole mental health thing, why are we even basing so much importance on it? That's my problem. And I know we discussed this in the last episode and I was made a case study, but taking it away from me now, we have people who are literally going through life doing fine without putting much emphasis on this thing. Is it not when you now even put emphasis and shine a light on it that their problems become more evident and they start to spiral out of control?
What's your definition of them doing fine? Like, what does them doing fine look like?
They have jobs.
Okay.
They can afford to eat 2, if you're considering the current Nigerian economy, square meals a day. They can move. They're not crippled or disabled.
Okay.
They have families.
Okay.
They can afford to put food on the table.
Yeah.
I'm saying this for a certain segment or a certain percentage of people. I mean, we do know we have people who are not as privileged as all these, but I'm just saying, those ones, I understand why they might have, those or these mental health issues I'm talking about. They don't have any means to procure food. But I'm talking about people who are okay, like.
So people who are able to meet like their basic needs.
Exactly. Yeah. Why are we shining the whole mental health thing on it when you are doing okay? Yeah. It is when you bring this thing to the forefront that people will now start contemplating and thinking about things that shouldn't be thought about in the first place. Yeah. So I mean, what's the I'm making sense of it. I'm feeling me. Yeah, obviously, some of feeling. Why are people laughing? I'm making sense. She's the only one that can understand me. She's the only professional here. You guys are just looking on. Anyway. So
why are we talking about it? It's
why
their basic needs are being met. Well, if we look at it, sure, their basic needs might be met, but is their quality of life good? Right? Taking aside the basic needs. And then the people around them, do they feel like they're good? Right? Let's use someone as a case study, a father that's working, able to provide for his family and things like that, if we ask any of his family members, if we ask his children, for example, or even his wife, right? If we put aside the basic needs that are being met, what is the relationship like with their father or with their husband, right? Does daddy come home and he's snapping at everybody, right? Is he irritable? Is he eating more than usual? Is he drinking more than usual? Is he sleeping more than usual, right? But then keep in mind, though, those basic needs are still being met, right? So if we take aside the basic needs that are being met and we look at those other factors that I stated, then the quality of life is not really peak.
Some people are just high functioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even that is debatable because high functioning is like you should be able to respond to the stresses of life, right? But if you're engaging in like things like drinking or like you're irritable or you're constantly sleeping, then those are coping skills. So you're not necessarily being responsive or responding to the stresses of life in a healthy way.
When you even say needs, you use the word needs, and then you are just talking about food. If you've checked Maslow's
Hierarchy.
Come on now, sociologists.
you would see self-esteem.
Yeah. Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
I don't do sociology.
No, it's not
You need
sociology.
to.
It's a what?
It's
a
a
common sense
general
thing.
life thing you should know.
Yeah.
I should
The fact,
know.
the fact is that
It's common sense.
we
It
all
doesn't
have
need.
needs.
Sorry, doesn't it?
Bloop.
Thank you.
Wait, hey, I know.
You're saying?
You understand why I was laughing earlier? I was not laughing for you. I
It was
laughing
but that's okay.
at you. Okay.
No,
So we
let's
have
go
needs
on.
for self-esteem. So when you talk about just food, shelter, and other things, you're making us look like androids. Like we are not supposed to have emotions. Our emotional needs are also strong too. So you saying that because somebody can eat and somebody is living under a roof, he should not have needs that are mental or emotional, then
This is my
No,
whole.
are we
This,
robots?
this is my entire problem
Okay.
with humanity as a whole. The
he
fact
has a
that
problem with you.
this is my entire problem with our race. And I'm human,
Part
yes,
of-
but
yeah.
Are you sure? You should have said your race so that we know that you are talking about us because you are part of the problem.
I literally wish I wasn't, but you know, God decided to make me one, and you know, I don't have a choice.
Believe God.
I sincerely believe that the main reason why we have not been able to attain the peak to which we could attain is because of these emotions, so to speak.
Okay.
They are limiting. You eat, you sleep, wake up, move about, and you are fine. Why do we now have to start adding these emotions, so to speak, and you know, add them and it just starts to make it just doesn't make any sense anymore.
What makes up a soul, if you are going to say that? Because I think the difference between us and other things is because we have souls.
Yeah.
And it is from our souls that we have all of these emotions and all these things coming out. So if you are saying that God created us, then he should have just created us like plants. We should only respond to the sun, respond to water, and not interact and other things.
Even you
Wait.
speaking of God, Seth, as
Surprising.
yeah, no, because if we're talking about people that shouldn't have that sort of emotional side to us, do you not think a lot of your beliefs and all of that would also be eradicated as a result? You just
Because
be,
most of them are emotional. You can't see God.
or at least have some emotional side to them.
I'm feeling incredibly
Outwitted.
outwisdomed on this
I told you I was Solomon.
on this episode.
So I wanted to touch on something that he just said about like, you know, God should have made us like plants and stuff like that. Like even organisms, like they respond to their environments, right? So I remember when I was in school, we were told about like a study that was done, and you can actually look it up, where there was an experiment with two plants, right? So they both got like the basic needs, like water, light, and everything. One plant, they spoke, you're going to roll your eyes at this. They spoke negatively to it, and the other plants, like they spoke like positively to it. And at the end of the
I
experiment,
did roll
guess
my
which
eyes.
one? It's fine, I know. Guess which one died? The one that they spoke negatively to, right? And all that to say is that like that plant was responding to the environment, right? So we respond to our environments. We're not computers, unfortunately. We're not computers where you can literally
They just
turn us off, turn us back on, do what you need to do, go back off. We're not, and that's what
First
makes
off,
us different.
That experiment you mentioned, the result was purely coincidental.
Okay.
The odds of that happening again are just off the top of my head.
You can repeat it though. You can repeat the
Speak
experiment.
negatively to a plant and it will die.
So get 2. Yeah.
You're a horrible plant.
This is not alive. So
What are you doing?
your sample is incorrect.
You literally want me to go get a plant and speak
That's a real plant.
I mean, okay, look, you're horrible, you're terrible, and you're not meant to be here on this set. It's not going to
Yeah,
die.
you don't mean
Okay,
it.
that's.
What do you mean I don't mean it?
I said over time.
Over time,
Yeah.
I just keep speaking negatively to it.
Yeah, and get one that you speak positively.
And get one that I speak positively to. You know what? I'm going to try this experiment,
All right.
and I'm going to
Come back with
come
results.
back
And prove us wrong. I mean.
and prove every single person here wrong. Because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They are literally surrounded by the things they need to survive. I'm very sure the person who spoke negatively, possibly on the side, undocumented, unrecorded, just said not to give the plants water and enough sunlight. As he gave, yes, that's the thing. That's the thing. Just to come out and prove his own point that plants need mental health and love and care too. It's all very, very much delusional to me. Sorry to say, so to speak. And I thought really I could come again and I could really just let's come to a common ground. But then everything just still seems so
Fairy.
yeah, exactly.
Like a fairy tale.
Yeah, exactly like the first day. It's I mean, it's not as bad as the first day because I was completely shut out. But this time I'm trying to keep an open mind. But as his mind is opening, he's even telling me that I see what you're opening your mind. It's weird. But anyway, let's divert and talk about something else about this topic. It's about community-based initiatives and support systems. We have to analyze the current policies regarding mental health in Nigeria. What do you think could be implemented at a legal level, or any just around the community, policy changes that could actually help? In fact, I'm not even going to say what do you think. The entire restructure of the country is going to help everybody's mental health. Yes,
I mean, yeah, there's that.
I mean,
Also, you admit that there's a benefit to mental health?
I didn't.
We're live, Abby. That was recorded.
no, yeah.
Cool.
Oh, God.
Carry on.
If it was recorded, what's the
No,
point?
carry on now.
That is a direct hit.
You guys, it's just making it hard for me to. Anyway, Nigeria is. I'm not even going to go on about the country. We all know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
But moving the part of the fact that the country is a huge impact on the so-called concept of mental health itself. Now, what do you think can, apart from that, be done again to, impact the concept of mental health positively for people like you and others who actually believe in it, not me. I'm good. I'm fine.
No problem. People like me. So I think one of the first things that needs to be done is suicide as a whole needs to be decriminalized. So right now in the country of Nigeria, if you attempt to end your life, you'd actually be taken to jail.
Is it just Nigeria?
I'm not sure about other countries. I know it was a thing in other countries, but I mean, I'm Nigerian, so it's Nigeria's own that I know for sure. I think so. I think it's still true in other countries, but like I said, we're in Nigeria. I know that it's actually a thing that if you attempt to end your life, you would actually be arrested, and times have changed, right? Arresting, that's not the intervention that somebody needs. If somebody has gotten to the point where they don't feel like living any longer and they feel like the only way to deal with the emotional turmoil that they're experiencing is by ending their lives, putting them in jail, locking them up is not what they need. So we need to decriminalize that. That is obviously a cry for help, right?
What's even the logic behind it?
I'll tell you.
I'll
gladly tell you.
Tell us.
It's simple. Lock them in jail, they don't have the chance to do it again. The fact that you're in jail, you have enough time, a very secluded area and space, sits in a single room.
That's actually not what we
it.
need. Research has shown that solitary confinement does the opposite, right? If the whole point of sending someone to jail is for them to get reformed, it's not through isolation that you get reformed, right?
Well, I think that is a worthy first step, because why would you want to end your life?
Yeah.
The life, I mean, you are a property of the state, you like it or not.
Yeah?
Yes.
Wait, what is a worthy person?
You are a property of the state.
We have our first think of it.
You are responsible, not just to yourself.
So what do you think is a worthy first step?
I said that is a worthy first step.
Like
arresting the person is a worthy first step.
I agree with that, but I don't agree with the whole
Why is there a worthy? Why should they be arrested?
Whether you agree with it or not, that is why when you attempt suicide, you can be arrested.
So why do you think like that's like a worthy first step?
Like it's a first one to know that, of course, ending your life is a crime. You do not give yourself the life, first of all. Then probably within the jail time, that's when all those support and other things can come in. Not that you just jail somebody and just leave them.
I'm shocked.
But arresting the person for wanting to take their life is... Because I was even thinking about this morning before I got here. I was thinking about suicide. It. Yes, like... The people who commit suicide.
You know what? I feel like
let me start being more open-minded.
Okay, bro. I'm going to do something.
Do you want to talk? Do you want us to talk?
Think of it. How is it that you are able to bite your tongue unknowingly and then you get injured, but you cannot do it like with your full mind? It is very difficult for you to harm yourself. And somebody who can overcome himself to end his life, that person is stronger than what they think. Now, somebody as strong as that will be able to want to harm themselves and end their life, you said they should not arrest that person. They should arrest the person first, then later deal with his issues, but they should arrest him first.
Yeah, just lock him up first.
I highly disagree.
They should not arrest them?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So how do they stop them from doing it in the instance? Or
arresting is an intervention, right?
The first step for me.
It's an intervention. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any interventions, right? There should be interventions. The first step is taking them to the hospital to ensure that they are fine physically, right? Because if they failed, right, maybe whatever poison they ingested didn't work, that poison is still in their body. Do you understand? So they need to check that out. So the first step, if we're looking at it in an immediate perspective, the first step is ensuring that physically that person is okay. Now, if you want to keep them under observation and things like that, then definitely, right? You want to ensure that they are not a threat to themselves and a threat to the society as well, then you can do that. But if somebody jumps off a bridge and they don't die, they should not be going to curriculum. I don't understand.
Okay, I think you took me out of context a bit. I did not mean that somebody who ingested poison while the person is struggling, you carry them to jail.
You take them to the hospital.
That's not what I meant.
I still don't think that they should be taken to jail. Okay, so we can agree that they should be taken to the hospital.
Of course, they will be taken to the hospital.
And then after that, they should be arrested.
Yeah, then take them to jail.
No.
Yes.
No, I disagree.
Because of course
that's not what they need. That's not the intervention that they need.
Hold on.
Why is it a crime? Is my question.
Exactly. What good has that done for anybody?
No,
how does it restore them?
You can choose to end your life if you give it to yourself.
But did the state give it to them?
Exactly.
The state is responsible for protection of life.
How is the state protecting us now? Is the state?
No, you are talking about a failed system, but we are not talking about a failed system. We are talking about what
Nigeria
it should be
at the moment.
No,
so because
it's
Nigeria,
a failed system. That's why they are arresting people that literally try to hurt themselves.
No, the system has to be there whether it is failed or not.
No,
laws have to be there whether people are.
I'm not saying there shouldn't be any laws. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any interventions, right? I strongly disagree that the intervention should be jail time, because how does that restore the person's mind? Like, okay, what's the goal with arresting them? What are we hoping the outcome would be?
Well, personally, I think the whole arresting thing is more of to the person. Fine, the person's own is just, you are going to kill yourself, lock them up, and so that it will prevent them. But it will also serve as a deterrent to others who have that thing in their mind.
So, okay, we'll teach them a lesson, right? Like, we'll strongly warn others in the society.
You won't do it on
okay, yeah. So, if I'm really in strong emotional turmoil, the thing that is going to prevent me from ending my life is thinking about the fact that I might be in prison. You guys think that, like, when you're distressed, right, your mind is not functioning the way that it should be, right? So can I get sciencey here?
Sure.
Okay. There are parts of our brain, there are different parts of our brain, right? We have our prefrontal cortex, and then we have another part of our brain called the amygdala, right? The prefrontal cortex is what is in charge of cognition and executive functioning, helping us make decisions, things like that. The amygdala is the part of our brain that regulates emotions, right? So if somebody is in emotional turmoil, guess what? Their prefrontal cortex, it goes off. So they're not thinking, oh, if I do this, then that is going to happen. Do you understand?
so
It's the amygdala that is on.
I'm sorry.
Amygdala. Amygdala. It's the amygdala that is on. It's the amygdala that is working, right? So what we need to do, what I try to do as a therapist, is to get that prefrontal cortex back on, right? Because that's when they would be able to, you know, make proper decisions, executive functioning, things like that, right? So if somebody is in the midst of feeling like, I just want to end it all, I don't want to exist, thinking about the possible consequence of jail is impossible. Do you understand? From like a biological perspective. So that's, I mean, I strongly disagree that jailing somebody is the solution to preventing them to doing it again, to not harming themselves. But I guess we agree to disagree.
We have not said
Shad.
it is like the solution. No, like it is a first measure from my perspective. No, I'm not going to overstress it this time. I'm just going to say that you can only talk to somebody who you can get a hold of. Because if somebody tries to take their life and you just take them to the hospital, there's no confinement there, and this person realizes himself and this person is on the move again. When will you have time as a therapist? You keep them in confinement.
No, you absolutely should. So that's what I'm not.
This is confinement. When I say jail time, I'm not mean that sentence and just leave them there to. I'm talking about.
I think it's a year jail
confinement.
time,
That's what
Sha,
I
if
meant.
I'm correct.
Anyway, but, you know.
But anyway,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
what
we're
I
making
meant.
headway on this. So
Yeah, I think we are. But there's something.
I don't think we are.
There's something she said,
What?
and then I'm going to relate it to what you said. She asked the question in the first part,
About resilience.
Resilience.
Yes.
Yeah.
and then I think we are talking about resilience. We are using a big word. Let's talk about it from his own perspective. When he
Oh,
said
God, not me
weakness,
again.
he said weakness. Remember, he was
Weakness,
talking
okay,
about weakness
gotcha.
the last time. Yeah, that those people are generally weak. So
yeah,
how do you, at what point do you draw the line between somebody who is weak emotionally? Because of course, whether there's mental health or not, there's still the place where somebody is just so weak, like they cannot take anything at all.
What do you mean by weak? I think this is where we
Honestly,
have
the word
to
is
like,
grating on me.
because we can't. There's no.
There's
We-
no.
Do you understand? Because if I now start saying, "Oh, me, Fumto, I'm the one that gets to define what weak means and what strong means," who gave me that authority? Like, I don't know the other person's life. Do you understand? Like, it's very nuanced.
Okay,
But what I think, sorry to interrupt you.
All right.
What I think you're asking is like, how can we help people, I guess, just develop like stronger mental capacity to like experience the stressors of life?
Yeah,
Kind of, sort of.
That's close. Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to give me more information? So
Okay. Probably let me just come up with a scenario.
Okay, let's do that.
Somebody meets another person in a public place, and then this other person is insulting this person. Because you are not used to those kind of things now.
Yes.
You throw the first punch. Now,
Who chose the first one? The person that was insulted. Gotcha.
Throws the first punch. Now, that is a civil case. Like, let me say something like that goes to court or whatever. You know that there's still the psychological part of it.
Yes.
But will the court now say, because this person is not exposed to this, because that's where all of these things come in. I believe even the judges and all of that, they study a little bit of psychology. So how do we draw the line to say, okay, he wasn't weak, he's just not used to being insulted, that's why he threw the punch or something? Like, all of these things, most times they clash. That's why I asked that question earlier about people using mental health as excuse. Oh, I have this issue, I should not be talked to like this. That's why I'm bringing this up.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I think, I mean, if you do something, right, you should still face the consequence of doing it.
Thank you.
that one I will, like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't face any consequence, right? But even in facing the consequence, whatever the consequence is, it has to be aimed at, like, hopefully restoring the person, right? Because if we're using something as controversial as, like, let's say even like people that commit perpetrators of, like, sexual assault, right? If we're using that as an example, if we look at their life stories, if you go and watch a lot of, like, serial killer stuff on, like, Netflix, you see that in their life stories there's always trauma that they've experienced. Either they were neglected, or, like, they grew up in an unstable environment. What's his face doing? Or they grew up in an unstable environment.
I'm listening.
Right?
I'm listening.
Right? But, and then they now grow up to, they don't have the resources to deal with, like, the environment that they grew up in, and then they now end up, you know, becoming, like, perpetrators of crime, right? We still have to hold them accountable. You committed a crime, so therefore you have to face the consequence of committing the crime, right? So that's that. But if the goal is to better society, right, there needs to be restorative, like, implementations for that person. So how do we help people, I don't want to use your word weak, but how do we help people develop more mental and emotional capacity? It's by helping them to, one, supporting them, right? Sometimes we just need a reminder that, you know what, don't sweat it, just ignore that person. And then it's also by helping people become more aware of themselves and more confident in themselves, right? So if somebody, and that's where he'll say, confidence. So if somebody, like, yes, self-esteem, exactly. So if somebody, like, insults you, right, you may not feel the need to respond or to prove them wrong because you're sure of yourself. Your self-esteem is healthy and is strong. And even if your self-esteem is healthy and is strong, it doesn't mean that you may not still feel, like, the sting of what they said, right? But your self-esteem is strong enough to the point that you don't feel the need to retaliate. So we just need to build people up better. But if we look at it, can we, like, confidently say that there are things in our society that help build up our self-esteem and our confidence?
I think there are a few, but not that I'm saying they are sufficient.
Yes, okay.
Hold on. So we've spitballed, we've thrown balls and curves and all the curve balls, and the bell has been silent because, I mean, I've been learning a lot, and I've been learning from people who obviously prioritize this mental health thing. I don't know. But, you know, it's we have to go on a quick break, and we will be right back. And when we do, we're going to come to a meeting point as to whether or not mental health is important. Do not go anywhere. It's still the Curveball Podcast. Okay, so still the Curveball Podcast, people, and you know, we've had a lot of balls thrown here and there, like I said. But you know, this is the time where we have to come to an agreement. And for this purpose of coming to an agreement, I will keep quiet. Because me, I know personally that I cannot come to an agreement with what these people are saying. But for the sake of peace, for the sake of us moving on, I will keep quiet and just agree. Thank you very much. Clap for me, everybody.
No, I refuse.
I'll clap.
You refuse that was. You still want to drive controversy. You still want us to be here more than the time that they have given us.
I don't agree with.
I'm clapping now.
No, I love you for clapping. Thank you very much. You're a reasonable person. Clap with that now. What kind of man? Why are you looking at? Look at this.
Disingenuous. There's nothing to clap for about that.
Disingenuous.
Anyway.
All right. You know, this is the time where I have to come to a meeting point. I'm just gonna put it out there. Importance of mental health. And I'm very sure, like this as it is now, all of you have agreed that mental health is important, Abi. Now, let's just, you know, end this with how we think our government, yes, that one has to come. Yes, how do we think our government can, you know, the steps they can take to improve and support mental health initiatives in the country? What do you think they should do? Or what do you think they're doing that they are not doing right, that should be done right in order to improve the mental health generally of the citizens of the country? And of course, we're going to start with her because she's the one that will give. You are probably going to say everybody should people to jail for committing suicide.
Because they are the property of the government.
Which I don't have a problem with. Anybody that tries to jump over from the land bridge, knock out for sale street, you go think. But it's not about me this time around. I'm gonna just leave it to her.
Yeah. Okay. So I will applaud the government for something that they've done, which is passing the mental health bill. So I'm not sure if a lot of us were aware of this before. Our previous president left. A mental health bill was passed, but it was just passed. So there's still work to be done. We still need to get details on, like, what exactly it's going to entail, what it's going to look like. So it's a step. So I'm going to applaud that. I think more steps that I want to that I would like our government to have is just more initiatives. So right now, I mean, even in Lagos, we have just one federal neuropsychiatric hospital, which we commonly know as. What's the common name?
Yabale.
Exactly. I'm not going to say that, but yeah. So we need more, because that's part of stigma. Anyway, so we need more, government-funded hospitals that can, provide quality psychiatric care, things like that, and even just like at the community level. I think something that would be great for our government to do is, just having mental health supports available in community centers, right? Because that's where a lot of people go to if they need help. It would be great to be able to have either, and it doesn't even have to be a therapist. It can be a psychiatrist or a psychiatrist nurse, somebody that has just been a social worker, someone that has been trained to be able to deal with the nuances of mental health. I think those are some things that I would like to see the government do, and also decriminalize suicide.
Please, obviously.
Thank you.
I think schools as well is a really important place.
In the curriculum.
Start young. I think teachers, I don't know exactly what it is like at the moment and how they're trained, but I think that there needs to be more of an intentional effort about training teachers and arming teachers to be able to deal with
100%.
Children and their mental health. And then also, I guess still around school, maybe stuff like scholarships, government-funded scholarships for people going into psychiatry and all that kind of thing.
Please, it's necessary. It's very necessary because every day I have people reaching out to me oh, I want to study psychology. What do I want? What can I do? And even people that don't understand the possible career outcomes in studying psychology. Everybody thinks when I said I wanted to study psychology, shout out, my parents are supportive, but people would say things oh, you want to study HR? What are you going to do with that? Things like that. So yes, definitely funding.
Yeah, and I think once the government throws their weight behind it, it probably adds some credence and acceptability in society. So I don't think it's even that hard.
I like everything you have said. Well, I have one problem with what you did. You
with me?
For a bill that we don't know anything about. Our government, of course, always signs bills. And they just sign the bill, but implementing that signed bill is a problem. So I don't understand why you clapped for the bill. That's an empty step. Taking a step like this, you did not go forward, you just took a step.
Fair enough.
That's what I feel. So
same as arresting people trying to commit suicide. But
decriminalizing suicide, it's also a good step. I will agree with you, but then you have to
exactly.
Oh my God.
You have to look at issues things like suicide bombing. Of course, if they decriminalize
that's different. That's terrorism.
You cannot really tell. At some point, you cannot really tell when something is.
That is different because suicide bombing is going to take the lives of others. If one person is committing suicide ending their life.
Suicide bombing. There can be suicides that are not suicide bombing that are weaponized. Somebody can be told to.
Please, I take my back. I unring it.
How do you want to unring it? Somebody can be inspired to go and take their lives somewhere that will.
Choice of word as well is just so annoying.
I
What do you mean inspired? What kind of?
Yeah. Suicide bombers actually inspired to take their lives. Yes, he's on
something. Yeah, but she just said it's terrorism and that those are two different issues.
Yes, but there are points where you cannot really differentiate.
You're saying it's a blurred line, or there's the possibility
You
of
not even allow me say.
Okay,
Actually,
sorry,
yeah, you
sorry.
didn't even finish. You were saying
Exactly.
decriminalizing suicide and then
Yeah.
suicide bombing.
Yeah, there are times that somebody's death can mean a whole lot of things. Like probably somebody comes to, let me say, a place of worship and takes his own life. There are intonations that go just beyond the fact that somebody killed himself. Nobody would think about just the mental health of that person. They will be thinking about the faith around and all those things. So yes, there's still that. It doesn't have to be suicide bombing. So sometimes it will be difficult to differentiate which one is criminal and which one is just somebody who doesn't have the mental capacity.
You should give Nigerian lawmakers and judges some respect so that they can differentiate between a suicide bomber and a song. I think you should respect them just a little bit. I don't know. They might not be.
Nice way to put it out
like,
there that you are a first-class law student. Congratulations.
She is?
Yes, now. She just used to talk.
Come on, girl.
She just used to talk.
No, girl.
You got so annoying. After you've abused us.
Wonderful way to put it out there. But of course, me, I don't know. I said I'll give you up. I'm just going to say it. I think I still agree with Richard. And of course, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with everything everyone has said. But apart from the whole decriminalizing suicide thing, why would you want to kill yourself? Because you're having problems. And because you're having problems, I understand what he's saying. Someone's death might probably, it might not be suicide bombing necessarily. It might be just you see someone die and automatically you are wired to so because
and that's why we need initiatives in the community, right? So someone's death can impact the rest of the community, absolutely. And that is why we need initiatives within the community to be able to help different things that occur in the community.
Let's think the person is an initiative now.
Okay.
There's just one point.
We won't end today.
While we are trying to conclude, there's one point I wanted to talk about. The fact is, we don't really know who has mental health issue or which group of people are suffering from mental health issues until it starts manifesting. So saying that an initiative on ground will stop a possible outburst of mental issue, it can cushion it, but I don't think it
can prevent it. You're talking about curative measures. There's prevention and there's cure. They're two different things.
Yes, but
prevention means that you don't have to cure.
Something you don't know.
Well, I don't understand. Like you eat fruit and vegetables, and you have a balanced diet. You exercise.
That's food and vegetables.
It's a preventive measure. It's a preventive measure for potential physical health issues that you don't yet know of, but you can do stuff to curb now.
If
it's not
to dwell on
rocket science,
point, which I believe everybody has their 2 cents about, we won't leave here. But I believe we've all come to the conclusion that these are ways that the government can help implement mental health and improve what we have already. Even the bill that is empty, I agree with that.
All right.
But I mean, these are ways. And of course, we've all agreed on shining the spotlight on mental health and, showed everyone, sorry, mistake, my head is full, I'm hungry. Showed everyone that, mental health is important and all that. So, yeah, it's cool. So do you have anything to say concerning your trade and your profession and what you do, and in case anyone out there needs help that you might be able to render? Not that you will be able to render, it's what's your...
My trade. Okay, so I have my own psychotherapy practice. So if anybody is seeking therapy services, you can definitely come our way. The name of the practice is Ibiayo, so Place of Joy. Our website is www.ibiayo.com. That's IBIAYO.com. And our Instagram is IBII.ayo. So yes, you can find that information.
Ibiayo, Place of Joy.
Yes.
Wow. Food day.
Huh?
Is that food? And according to Ibiayo, what do you want? That's deceptive.
Is it just food? Okay.
Place of Joy in Yoruba. I say food.
Oh, it's Yoruba.
She said Ibiayo. I ask her say she food day. She say food no day.
Should I, an Igbo person or an Hausa person, come to that place?
Let's not make it about that.
No, I'm just asking.
Okay, so again, the name of the practice is Ibiayo. So www.ibiayo.com. Our Instagram is the same, IBII.ayo. And we don't discriminate on any religion or race or tribe. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it live here on the Curveball Podcast. Go to EBIO in case you have anything that is doing your brain. Yeah, that.
I didn't. That's not the kind of PR that was for, but it's okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, who gets this?
Big.
Obviously, her.
Obviously, oh, please.
Again.
She's the only
Thank
peacemaker in
you.
this place. Guys.
This one cost me off guard. It's like I'm shook.
Yeah,
Shooketh.
suicide discrimination. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of another lovely episode. This one was a lot more peaceful than the last, and yeah, I'm glad we could get to a meeting point concerning mental health. So you know how we always do this and how we always end the show. When life throws a curveball at you, don't, avoid it. Just swing back and hit back at life. And, it's the Curveball Podcast. Follow up on the conversation at the Curveball Podcast, and we will be seeing you guys again on another episode of this wonderful, wonderful show. You know how we end the show, guys. Everyone say what?
Curveball!